December 8th, 2004, the heavy music world experienced the most violent, the most insane episode in the history of our music when Dimebag Darrell Abbott from Pantera and DAMAGEPLAN was assassinated on stage by a delusional fan while performing with DAMAGEPLAN at the Alrosa Villa in Columbus, Ohio. 10 years later, we're still hurting from the loss of Dimebag Darrell because nothing has ever been the same. Nobody has even come close to what Dimebag did for heavy music. But you know what? We're here to celebrate him, to celebrate his spirit, to make sure that you guys don't forget that Dimebag is always there watching over you guys, making sure that this music is going strong. So today we're going to be speaking with a lot of his friends, his brother Vinnie, of course, his bandmates, Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown. And you know what? Dimebag Darrell will always be loved and never forgotten.
Started playing jazz in a jazz band. That's where I met Vinnie Paul. You know, that's where the band really kind of started. And he had just his brother that couldn't even play a bar chord, and tucked himself in a room for, you know, a whole summertime. Didn't leave, and he came out this virtuoso. I mean, he just had it.
Started in '83, did it 7 long years, playing nightclubs, 6 nights a week, 3-4 sets. Some of them cover sets, some of them are sets, and then you know, like I said, we were prepared when we got our break and took the ball and ran with it.
And you're still doing it?
Oh yeah, man. I'm never stopping. You know, it's in my blood. You know, after I lost my brother, I really had to think about a lot of things, and I know this is exactly what he would want me to keep doing. You know, so I'm carrying the torch for both of us, and you'll see me around for a long time, man.
A lot of people have focused on the negativity, but I think one of the most positive things is that people to this day, you know, they're still learning about Pantera. They're still, maybe some of them are copying, modifying something that you guys did before. And most importantly, has given wings to a lot of new projects like yourself with Down, you know, Vinnie with Hell, yeah, Rex now with Kill Devil Hill. I think that's a beautiful thing when the wings can get spread like that. I mean, it wasn't planned, but it's kind of cool.
You know, the main thing would be just to understand that we're not the first band to break up. We're not the first band to experience tragedy. And, you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of bands that can tell similar stories along the way, but still, you know, I respect everyone that is in the band, accountable to Dave, Vince, and Rex, and whatever they do. They're fans to music or whatever. You know, I hope it brings them ultimate happiness. I hope it makes them thrive, man, because, you know, they are still my brothers.
You know, with the Pantera thing, as far as that goes, it's just like, you know, I mean, obviously that's up to Vinnie and Phil and Rex, you know, because they're Pantera. So, I mean, the whole thing is, if the guys decided they wanted to honor Dime and do it, and they asked me, you know, because obviously Dime's my brother and I love him, and I was a pallbearer for him, and the rest. So, I think if they asked me to do it, of course I would honor it. And, you know, I'd just be, you know, woodshed 25-8, learning all Dime stuff, you know, and then obviously he'd be with us, and so when I'm hitting a clam or something like that, he'd be laughing his balls off, you know what I mean? Say, you asshole, you played that wrong. So, yeah, but it would be, you know, it's basically, it's just, it would be a beautiful celebration of Dime's greatness and what they achieved together as Pantera, you know what I mean, and because they changed the game, they really did.
A little mayhem going on, fireworks on the guitars, doors getting broke down, like anything that you could tell the fans at home that was happening.
King, man, I'm gonna let him roll with that stuff. A typical day at Dime's house.
Yeah.
And I hooked him up with this big old. This thing was like it's big, dude. You're not supposed to set off fireworks in the house to begin with.
Let alone near people.
Right.
Yeah, like one of those "don't try this at your house" kind of things.
Exactly. And dude, I hooked him up and it went off. And this thing, I swear, everywhere he went to get away from it, it just chased him in a full circle. He had this beanbag running from it, and it was just on him.
The fun days of Dime and his shenanigans and the stuff we came up with on the road, you know, was just crazy. You know, at the time that we were entertaining, you know, Dime for sure wanted to be entertained. So I always call it like the interchangeable arm. You know, Dime always had either a pick in his hand with a guitar, or he had that camera going nonstop.
Being a bass about Dimebag that he was everything but a rock star, you know. He could have been, you know, but he chose not to be. He chose just to be a cool guy and a humble guy, you know. And he's one of the few guys that remember my birthday on tour, which is killer, man. I never forget that. He gave me a pair of camouflage pants and gave me a $100 bill signed by him that I still have it. And yeah, man, you know, like after I quit Sepultura and I formed SOULFLY, we went back to small clubs, you know, very small places. And our first show in Dallas, he was there, man, you know, which was, for me, meant a lot, you know, that he came to see us in a little shithole, you know, not just the big places, but also the little piece of crap club, you know, and he was there. So he was that kind of guy, man, you know, straight up guy. And
he was a genuine person, like, and he was on fire all the time. I mean, we like crashed some weddings at hotels together, and you know, I can't keep up with that all the time. Like, I can occasionally do something crazy, and then I gotta withdraw and, you know, be gloomy for a while. So he was never like that. He was always on, full on.
I would love to have half of the positive vibe that he had. Anytime you ran into him, the dude was like level 10 positive, having a good time whenever you saw him. I wish I could even have a quarter of that.
Always, we were the first band of 4 on the tour with DAMAGEPLAN, and we were just kind of up and coming at that time. And he treated us like he'd known us for years. And so he kind of instilled in us to always take care of the bands you're on tour with, and even if they're the opening band, just always be friendly, be nice, have shots with them, you know, take it with them. And that probably would have been part of our mentality anyway, because we came from the hardcore scene, but just was kind of, you know, reinforcing us to see a guy that I had put on a pedestal, because Pantera's my favorite band. I was like, this is the coolest dude in the whole fucking world, and he's my favorite band anyway. And it was rad, you know, good dude.
Darrell and Woody, to me, are like very similar, because they're two of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm fortunate to still have Woody, but I would say that, you know, hanging out with Darrell, he's one of those guys that when you were around him, it was just like, you felt better. It was like doing a drug or something. You're like, oh, you know, he's just like up and like, yeah, man, blah, 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 blah. He had that vibe, but he had some weird energy about him that just made everybody like happier and better.
Fucking arm sign, man! Alright. Right there, I don't care. Yeah! Yeah!
that was pretty bad, but it
I
worked.
don't care, dude, it's fucking time!
He had a thing that, you know, that I have just such respect for, because I know how hard it is. But you know, with Dime, I think if you were a fan, you definitely had, like, if you saw Darrell walking down the street and you had an opportunity to meet that guy, or after a show or at a meet and greet or whatever, I think you had a certain expectation of what that was going to be like. People had an expectation of what it would be like to meet Darrell, and he never let anyone down. He knew that people expected that guy that they see in the videos and all that, and he just never wanted to let anyone down. So the second he stepped off the bus or was at you know, a meet and greet or wherever it may be, if someone came up to him, he made sure they got that, they got what they wanted out of that. And that's not an easy thing to do, because he's not necessarily in a good mood all the time, and there could be fucked up shit going on at home or whatever it may be, but he always made sure to turn that on, you know, and never let anybody down. And you know, I saw it so many times with him, and you know, he would just snap into it. We could be having the most heavy discussion about something, and then someone comes up and asks for an autograph, and it's Dime, you know. So just the utmost respect for that.
Dimebag influenced me like 100%. He was always so cordial towards all of his fans. He was very personable. I always looked up to that, and always was like, if I ever am in a band, I just want everybody to, like, not think, but know that I'm genuinely nice and like a good person, and just put on a killer show and make it look easy. And he did that, man. He exuded just the confidence and the ability and he always looked like he was having a good time, and it was just a perfect. If you're gonna idolize somebody, you know, he was the person to idolize.
And I can tell you right now, especially Dimebag and Vinnie, those guys, and Phil, those guys really cared about their fans. They were the guys that would be out there drinking with the band. They were the guys that would be out there after the show partying with everybody. Pantera cared so much about their fans. I was in a punk rock band called Battery Club, and we played in Texas. I had no idea those guys would show up, but they showed up to see my band. They bought a T-shirt, they bought a CD, then they brought my band back with them to the studio, and my band could not party like those guys. So my guys were so wasted. They were fist fighting with each other. They just could not party like the guys in Pantera could. So it was pretty funny, and I have a lot of good memories of those guys, and I love them, and it's so horribly tragic what happened.
He just has left us in the world of music such a legacy of, and a bar that every guitarist I think tries to tap, you know, and they just, but his riffs, the way he plays, the guy, the person he was, I didn't know him that well, but, you know, from Rita and like Zakk Wylde, and the way these guys talk about him as a person, it was, I mean, just to, you know, I don't know, some of those riffs that he created and came up with are still the heaviest, most aggressive riffs, and his tone. With him and his brother playing, it's just like those guys are born to do and make that you know, vulgar display.
We spent a lot of time together, so he helped me out with some of my guitar stuff, and he was always mad because he could not figure out how to play Steady Decline, you know, which is on Beg to Differ, and he was like, "How do you do that, man? I can't play that riff." And I was like, you know, I mean, yeah, I couldn't play 90% of his stuff, so there was at least one thing I could go, see, you know. But there was stuff like that. It was a lot of like competition. And
Dimebag is one of the best guitarists of our century. You know what I mean? That's how else do you commemorate one of the best bands ever and one of the best guitarists ever? Just go out there and put your heart and soul into the things that you love. You know what I mean? He's I don't know, I'm at a loss for words really, because I mean, I don't play guitar or anything, so it's like he didn't influence me in that way, but he always made me want to be in a really heavy band like Pantera, and you know, that's kind of where I sit. You know, I love the dude very much. I've cried many a tear for him, and it's I feel like we kind of share a little bit, you know, being in this band with, you know, our good friend Mitch passing away, and so we share that sentiment of losing somebody.
Really a big part of us, you know, just wanting to stay in it and you know, keep up the good fight and keep making music, and you know, not let, you know, Dave's memory, you know, disappear. And you know, and it's ironic, you know, that the tragedy with Dime, the unbelievable tragedy. You know, I think that probably inspires Vinnie a lot now, you know, to kind of keep the Dime spirit. You know, he named his band Hell Yeah, which is, you know, something you hear Dime scream, you know, 100 times in a night. So I'm sure, you know, it's all a big circle of support, I guess you'd say, man. We wouldn't have got through those times if it wasn't for Dime.
A couple of the guys in the band met him and actually hung with him, and he was the nicest guy in the world. And you just hate that to happen to anybody, you know, in life, you know. And the way it all happened is just unbelievable, you know, because it could have happened to any of us, you know. We've played, obviously, that venue many times in the past, and many bands have played it and still playing it, you know. But when it happened, you know, you just thought, wow, that's unbelievable that this could happen, you know. And you know, it hits you harder because he's up here, you know. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. And, wow, it's been 10 years. It doesn't even, you know, it's crazy, it is. But, man, yeah, just an unfortunate event that, you know, well, obviously, you know, people can live through the music, and he'll always be remembered. So that's all we can do now, I think. So.
Do you remember where you were when Dimebag, we got the deal on?
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was. I was on stage in Denver, and my tour manager brought me over to the side of the stage and told me what was up, and then we did something we'd never done before. We actually took off our armored suits and played our encore naked in respect and reverence to the awesome Dimebag Darrell.
It was a sad day, in fact, I was in the studio when I heard about his passing, so that's when I decided to name the record Dark Ages. It was because of that, so Dime played a big part on the subject behind Dark Ages, It was a big part of his death. I was in the studio, I didn't have a name for the record, and I was making the record, and I said to myself, feels like very dark age right now with Dimebag dying.
Yeah, we obviously miss Dimebag Darrell a lot. He was a fucking great, wonderful human being.
I just miss him, man. I wish he was still on this planet with us. He's in my heart, but I wish he's still on the planet with us for sure.
All we can do is keep moving forward and keep our heads up and keep the horns up high.
I've known this for years, but I still have trouble battling with this thought in my head, thinking that others are going to know what little crack or crevice makes you cringe, thinking that others are going to hear what you hear that makes you cringe. Well, little do we realize, it's hard to realize that what may sound like a squeaky, out-of-tune, fucking irritating violin to someone sounds like the most serene, beautiful tone of a fucking saxophone, beautifully in tune in the moonlight.